So I know some of you are joining us, are long-time supporters of Apolla, and many of you are joining out of curiosity and learning about the unknown. Apolla is a company that we are rooted in education and teaching a whole 360-degree approach to training as dancers. Everything we do is rooted in science and research. From our blog to the free STEPS initiative course that we've recently curated, we recognize that Apolla Shocks are one tool and one cog in the wheel to injury prevention and healthy whole dancers. We have a ton of resources that we provide, linking in our bio of Instagram, on our website. We have a Mia Michaels series that you'll see one of the episodes a little bit later. And our blog, which we have tons of educational experts in the dance field constantly providing dance science, mind, body, soul, nutrition. And then we even have a full recent webinar that we did with two of our partners focused on the artist and athlete initiative. So that is everything that we provide. And if you join into, and jump into our community and follow us on social media, you'll get to know all of those different aspects that we do push. But tonight specifically, we're focused on the foundation, and that's our feet, and really giving you a deeper understanding of Apolla Shocks. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Kaycee Jones, and I am a co-founder, and I'm the COO of Apolla. Quick background on me. I was a studio brat. My mom was a studio owner for 41 years, and she was my dance team cheerleading coach. I grew up as a competitive commercial dancer. I went on, I competed on my college dance team. We were nationally ranked. And later, I went on to coach college dance teams, leading one team to a first place finish. And we continued, I taught dance with my mom's studio. And I also then decided to move on, and I got my master's in kinesiology from Cal State Fullerton, and was working at Disneyland in guest talent. While I was doing that, I also earned my registered yoga training certification. I have my NSCA CPT, as well as my certified strength and conditioning specialist. In my master's, I really did focus on dancer injuries in grad school, and that's really where the seed of Apolla was planted. So when me and the other founders, so you see on the screen, I'm the one in the middle, you see Bree and Aisha, when we came together to create this new footwear, all of us are dancers, and we really built Apolla based on what dancers need, and rooted in the science behind that. Now, there are a lot of practices and traditions in dance that are harmful to dancers, that we want to sometimes wear as badges of honor as instructors, almost like an initiation to dance. We'll say things like, I grew up doing it, or I can wear tennis shoes now because I'm a teacher. This is the way I was taught, so this is how my students will be taught. But we beg the question, as artists, we should always be pushing the envelope to evolve. So why are we not open to these changes in tradition? And, dance science is about 25 years behind sports science. And I have a colleague that he says that he talks about how dance science is about in the same place that sports science was 25 years ago, when at one point they had to convince the athletic coaches to listen to them on how to train their athletes. They actually didn't believe that they would make them better because they already knew how to train athletes. They already knew what was, the right thing to do. And they thought that by listening to these strength and conditioning specialists, that they were going to take the rigor out of sports, that they were going to weaken their athletes. But as we all know, in the last, 25, 30 years, you've seen athletics explode because they have learned how to train more efficiently and to tune our bodies in a way, that we never thought possible. But dance, we're in that same place where we're trying to get that dance science and the research, and it's still so much to be done. but there's so much that's there and has been growing for the last 25, 30 years that so many dance teachers are not aware of and have not adopted that new technology. And you know, there's so much excitement that where we could take dancers without making, you know, weaker dancers, we can make stronger dancers for the future generation. Now, one of the big arguments in dance you sometimes hear is that dancers are artists, not athletes. And as Apolla, our whole foundation is that dancers are athletes. Now, if you look at what the standard athletic attributes are, they have to have muscular strength, endurance, anaerobic and aerobic energy utilization, speed, agility, coordination, motor control, and psychological readiness. All are essential to optimal performance, and therefore, dancers are athletes. So, but what's important that we recognize, because we are dancers, we get dancers, we know dancers, that dancers are a unique athlete in the aesthetics, the competitive pressures, the movement required. It's so important that you take a look at the 360-degree dancer, their injury risks, of how a dancer can mitigate these risks for a longevity of their body and career. I don't know if everyone realizes a professional dancer's career has about the same lifespan as a professional football player. That is insane. We should be able to do what we do much longer, and we can if we listen to the science. So we believe that it's time for us to evolve. It's time for us to upgrade. You know, I'm going to take you first through and give you a little bit more of the background of why we created Apolla Shocks. And that's where we start, is that we are athletes. And we often hear, like I said, we say, I'm old school, I'm a traditionalist. Dancers must wear jazz shoes for jazz class, etc. You know, the dance world is rooted in tradition and has been reluctant to recognize the sports science research and overall health and increase of longevity of a dance career. We have accepted that that is the way it is, and we are seeing, with the traditionalist mentality, and increased demands on dancers beyond what the teacher ever experienced. And that's creating broken bodies and spirits. It's saying the injury rates that we're seeing from dancers. People are not aware of how bad it really is. So we believe that you have to train like the athlete you are. It's not a secret. There is a path to success, and science can show us the way to train like an athlete. You know, there's proper strength and cross-training, physical therapy. You need to have proper rest. You need to have proper nutrition. There's tools like footwear and flooring, and proper mental training and emotional support. Now, again, we stress it is very important for all of these categories to dive into each one of them. And we do in multiple other resources and ways to enact that change. And we hope you continue the journey of furthering your education beyond this to our website, Instagram links. You know, we are here to help connect dancers to dance science and every piece that is involved in dancing longer and stronger. But there's not enough time for us to dive deep into every one of these important and vital pieces of a whole and healthy dancer. So we're going to really focus more on the injuries sustained to the body. The injury risks that athletes are most exposed to. There are a lot. We've got overuse injuries, technique error, adolescent growth, anatomical limitations, muscular imbalance, premature point work, stress, anxiety, competitive pressures, body image, eating disorders, and environmental issues. That is a long list that dancers are stacked up against. Now, with technical error, this is one that is major. It causes dance injury and has to be included in any risk discussion, emphasizing now this is always important and often talked about in dance medicine seminars, books, etc. Adolescence growth spurt, something that as high school coaches that are out there, you know, you guys will be dealing with this a lot, and it is a very big issue because often it's something that both teachers and dancers are not fully aware of, and it can have a major impact on both causing short-term and long-term injuries. There's anatomical limitations. Everybody is not alike, and we should not push our bodies beyond our limits. There's hypermobility, which is getting huge attention in the dance world right now, especially because of the research on the psychiatric components and eating disorders that are linked to hypermobility. And then muscular imbalance is major in its crucial cause of injuries, and why what we're going to talk about strength training is something that we can do. We will address that. And then of course, premature point work. And we know that there's a lot of different places that we can look. And we hope that you understand the importance of gaining information on all these, but we're going to first focus on the cause that is 65% of dancer injuries from the knees down, and that is inflammation. So, what is overuse injury? There are two types of injury mechanisms. We have overuse, which is inflammation compounding from repetitive strain, and then traumatic, which is an acute and instant injury, broken ankle, torn ACL. Dancer injury rates are approximately 65% overuse and 35% traumatic injury. And 60 to 85% of dance-related injuries are lower limbs. Sorry, just saw a note, want to make sure that it wasn't somebody else trying to come in. Now, this is actually, that rate is twice as high as a football player. And we are not a contact sport. So it's really important for us to understand that the way that we have always done it is not the way we should continue knowing this. So an athlete's nemesis is inflammation. Dancers are at a high risk of injuries due to repetitive nature and intense hours of dance. And if not tended to properly, inflammation compounds into more painful and chronic injuries. High impact forces are known to increase the risk of shin splints and stress fractures. Now, the nature of dance is repetitive movement. And what happens with inflammation is that it compounds and it builds up, preventing movement and restricting blood flow. And that's really when the problems start to arise. So what causes it is, one of them is muscle imbalance and joint instability, and that's what we're going to dive into first. What can be done for muscle imbalance and joint instability? Well, there's a lot, but I'm going to give you a very short overview, which is strength training. And it's very important for competitive dancers to be strength training. Dancers need to cross train. And something that we really advocate for is partnering with your local PT, finding a PT that can come in and do an analysis of your dancers, how they move, what they're doing. Think of it as their annual checkup. It's something that you should establish a relationship with your local PT that can continue to get everyone aware of their weaknesses and what exercises you are able to provide through the year to work on any muscle imbalances or weaknesses or instability. You know, dancers often say they don't want to bulk up, but information that is backed by research is indisputable, undisputable on how important strength training is for a dancer's body. And injuries are so, you know, it just is a killer on your entire year, especially as a young dancer, having to sit out from an injury. It's always best to stay ahead of injuries before they become serious. So making sure that you have that mid-season and once-a-year checkup. You know, most young dancers are training at levels comparable to professional athletes. And at a time when their bodies are still growing and are therefore susceptible to lifelong tissue or joint damage, a qualified physical therapist can potentially spot harmful movement patterns before they turn serious. And you should do, there's a lot of different places that we give you resources on how to find other qualified if you don't have a local dance specialist, other places that you can look, or that you can find a local dance specialist. So something to think about, put a regular strength and conditioning class on your dancer schedule, incorporate cross training, and make sure that, you know, this is just as important in running routines. Sometimes that rest is actually better. More technique classes are not always the best way to achieve better technique. In fact, studies show that the more hours training and doing the same thing over and over, dancers are the only sport that train for their sport by doing their sport. And it is part of the reason that we have such a high injury rate of overuse injuries. So you're not actually increasing them by running it over and over. Diversifying their training is actually how you'll make stronger dancers with less injury. So by integrating strength training, dancers can strengthen muscles that are required for efficient movement with less strain. We recommend, one of our partners is Sugarfoot Therapy. It's an online program created by physical therapists that are also specialized in dance. We have a warm up with them in Apolla Shocks, but we've just loved them because it is not only they understand dancers and are providing what dancers need to be athletes, but they're online. So for those of you that are in a smaller town that don't have access to a dance specialist in your area, they are virtual. Also, other options, look up Doctors for Dancers. They're a fairly new resource that we also have partnered with, and we love Doctors for Dancers for their ability for you to look up a local dance specialist. Again, anything from a psychologist to you know, a physical therapist, a nutritionist. There are all sorts of doctors for dancers on their website. You can also look at these other different locations for a sports and orthopedic specialist. And again, you can always check out Sugarfoot Therapy. So again, back to the nature of dance. We said muscle imbalance and joint instability, one of the causes that gives us that inflammation. Bringing you back to this slide, beyond working the muscle imbalance and joint instability, there are a lot of other causes of inflammation. Inflammation, if not tended to properly, compounds. It starts to restrict blood flow, and it can build into an injury that forces you to sit out or become a chronic career-ending injury. For teachers that now teach in tennis shoes, I guarantee most of you are one of them. This is due to years of inflammation built up due to chronic injury. Anything that you have been told by your doctor that you have that ends with itis, that is inflammation. And with prevention and regular maintenance to remove inflammation, we can have less overuse injuries, less sitting out, and help prolong a dancer's career. So thinking of lowering the hours, repetition of precision and movement and heavy impact causes in the inflammation. Similar muscle recruitment patterns, carpeted concrete and poor floors. All of you dance team coaches, you understand this. Minimal rest time and recovery. We don't have an off season. And then what we want to focus on is that footwear and bare feet. So, as I said in the beginning, there are a lot of factors to injury prevention. Building strength and stability from within is very important. However, the repetitive nature of dance, regardless of strength, creates that inflammation we talked about. Plus, there are some that are more prone to instability if they have EDS or Sever's disease, flat feet, just to name a few. That is where we want to start to talk about just the feet. The support you give to your feet creates a domino effect up to the ankles, knees, and back. And when you provide the right support at your foundation, you really can do what you love longer and stronger. Now, part of this is to consider flooring that you're training on, as dancing from home has become a new normal for many of us and will be the way that they keep training for many of us. It is not an option to really, bring in sprung wood floors into your house. And many studios don't have proper flooring. Dance teams, how many of you are stuck in a cafeteria? It is important as teachers to consider proper flooring as an investment if you have a studio. But if you don't have that option, what do you do? So this is where dancers are day in, day out training. It's a huge impact on their bodies and their life. But another major consideration is what to wear on their feet. Everyone has their own opinions and theories. Many are ingrained in tradition and not much else. So I'm going to give you some facts, research, and our opinion, and you can decide if this new information aligns with your mission as a dancer, teacher, or parent. So, dance shoes. Studies suggest dance shoes may encourage incorrect muscle activation or cause injury. And additionally, the traction pads under the balls of the feet and heels can cause irritation and inflammation to the metatarsals. Now, bare feet studies, there's been mixed reviews on the benefits and risks of being barefoot. And many believe it can help build muscles, which it does. You know, a few years back, barefoot running became really, really popular. As you probably saw, like the finger, the running shoes. And so what happened is, because of that barefoot running phenomenon, all these running companies that started doing a lot of research on orthotics and what does arch support really do for your foot, because the barefoot people are saying you're actually going to be stronger if you don't wear orthotics. And then of course, you know, Nike and all of the running shoes, they're like, oh, wait a minute. So a lot of research was produced that we can infer into understanding arch support for athletes. And the bottom line of where it lays that we really built Apolla Shocks based on is that an orthotic is necessary for certain conditions that actually you are trying to reduce movement in the foot. But being barefoot does help build your foot strength. The intrinsic muscles having full range of motion and not being restricted from moving does allow for them to build more strength, which so it does fall in favor of being barefoot. Now, the problem is, though, is that our feet want to stay in the arch and that they're naturally in. And with a natural gait, what you're doing is you're flattening that arch from the center. And it creates a yanking where the plantar fascia inserts at the ball of the foot and the arch and the heel and the ball and the arch. And that yanking over and over starts to build inflammation. And that's where a lot of the start of plantar fasciitis starts. So we want to be able to lift and support. There's 26 bones in the foot. That's a lot of movement that's happening, a lot of instability that's happening. So what we built, the theory of Apolla Shocks, is based on reducing that amount of movement. Inflammation isn't all bad. It is the body's natural reaction, and it's necessary in many different things. But what happens, because dancers don't give themselves the amount of time rest that they need, is that compounding of inflammation. They don't properly recover. We're not given enough time, and there's too much repetitive movement doing the same thing over and over, and the high impact forces, it all creates this giant storm specifically for dancers. So we are able to help lift and stabilize the arch without restricting range of motion. That's really important. Understanding that we don't prevent you from continuing to build that foot strength because you have that full range of motion. We're just reducing the amount of inflammation that takes place during dance. Now, dancers are on their feet most of the time, and healthy, pain-free feet are imperative for dancers regardless of age or level of accomplishment. Therefore, the footwear that dancers use is very important. As the requirements of dance styles cannot be modified too greatly, footwear should be designed to minimize impact forces and injury risks of dancers to assist them in achieving maximal performance. This was done by Alicia Fong Yan. She is in Australia. And a funny story, I was at IADMS last year when we were still going to conferences, and we're in Montreal. We're at our booth and someone comes and sits down, and I start putting Apolla Shocks on her feet, and I look up and see her name tag and I see Alicia Fong Yan, and I'm like, holy crap, do you realize your research was a big part that I based the theory of Apolla Shocks on? And so it was so fun to meet her in person. Come to find out, she had really done so much work in footwear, she kind of burned out. And after we talked through Apolla Shocks, she learned about the research study that I'm about to show you that was just completed, and Dr. Jeff Russell was one of her mentors, and just putting on Apolla Shocks, learning about what we were doing and what we were trailblazing, it actually reignited her passion for research. And she has been working on a research study that, because we keep things independent and try to keep the integrity of the study, I don't know anything about it. I just know we sent her a whole bunch of shocks and we're waiting for the results after COVID allows her to finish. But that was a fun, exciting thing to see, that research is continuing, which leads us to understanding Apolla Shocks. We have trailblazed a new footwear category of footwear. We are not just, we're not a shoe, we're not a sock. That's why we call us a shock. So for those that say, I don't let my dancers dance in socks, well, they're not socks, they're more. And we have several styles and colors. We're made by dancers for dancers, and we're really for anyone with feet. We are backed by research, and we have a unique traction and non-traction. And that's really going to be important as well, to give you options for any surface or shoes. It's not moving forward. Sorry, 1 second, it's frozen on me. There we go. So the research I'm talking about, even though we're only just now past our 4-year anniversary of being alive as a company and selling, we were able to get the attention of an amazing dance science researcher, Dr. Jeff Russell at Ohio University. He is a very well-known and regarded, highly regarded dance scientist. He did a research study this past year that was able to show that Apolla Shocks, the energy absorption in our Apolla Shocks actually was significantly made a reduction in force. So it showed that our shocks actually did reduce force. But what it really did was open the door for more research, and it made it so a whole bunch of more people were really interested in what we're doing. So we really do hope to present more research in the future for you to learn even more. We know they work, we just want the research for you to prove it. We also, something else that we love to provide with our blog, we have all sorts of different experts that are constantly providing different content for us. We hope you check it out. One of my favorite, we recently had Susan Haynes. She presented an amazing article talking about building intrinsic foot strength. And she's a huge supporter of Apolla Shocks, and she loves the combination of doing these foot exercises with Apolla Shocks, and how that outside and inside support combination is super effective. So Apolla Shocks, we have using patented, high quality, targeted compression. We provide arch support and ankle stability. We remove inflammation and reduce it. We don't restrict the movement or strength building. We have knit and energy absorption. We have refreshable traction, which is really unique. It starts out really sticky. You're able to break it in and wear it down to a grip that you love, and then you can refresh it and keep refreshing it to keep resticking that grip over and over for the life of the shocks. They're antimicrobial, they're moisture wicking, they are incredibly durable. We have testers that still wear their first pair. They've had them for over 3 years. I'm not even kidding. We recommend everybody buy a new pair once a year to keep the effectiveness of the compression, but you are going to be very delighted at how durable and how high quality they really are. But beyond that, you're going to be more aware of your alignment. You're going to be aware of your proprioception. It gives amazing biofeedback, muscle activation, and what's really important that we'll talk about is recovery. There's 6 unique styles. Because we understand dancers have different fit preferences and needs, we have been working as hard as we can since we started to provide for all of those. From our alpha, which is that half sole style, replaces your half sole style shoes. And it's going to give you a snug fit in the toe for the people that like those ballet shoes a little bit snug. They love the alpha. It's light, provides effective support and it shows off the feet better than any other dance shoe does. Then we have the performance. This is our most popular style because of that crew sock. But what's great about this is that you're getting a little bit more ankle stability than you would with the Alpha, but it has a nice soft opening, so it lays comfortably right below the calf, and you're getting the energy absorption in the ball of the foot and the heel. The grip on the Performance and the Infinite is only on the ball of the foot, and that's after much testing. We realized that most dancers wanted just that grip on the ball of the foot. However, if you have dancers that you worry about them not having the weight over their balls of their feet and they may still be rocking into their heels, that's when you want to look at more the Alpha or the Amp. With the Amp, we on purpose made sure that it's going to be mimicking your jazz shoe profile, so they look gorgeous on the feet. They show off the feet better than jazz shoes. We have all the colors that you want as jazz shoes, but we put our grip on the ball of the foot and the heel. And what's great about this, this Amp and the Performance is a little bit more slim cut in the toes, so it really shows off the feet, whereas the Infinite is giving you more room in the toes, so it's great coming out of point shoes and for recovery, or people that have really wide feet or bunions. The Infinite's going to be also coming up to mid-calf, giving you full graduated compression, and this is your workhorse. This is recovery. This is long days, traveling. People are obsessed with the Infinite. If you love that snug hug on your shins or your calves, you have shin splints, calf aches, the Infinite's for you. If you find that claustrophobic, you may opt for going for one of the lower profiles. Then we have our most versatile style. We developed this style, the Jewel and the K-Warmer, with the principal dancers of Boston Ballet as our testers to get it just right. With the Jewel, we knew that we couldn't get dancers to stop dancing barefoot, but what we could do is provide support. So we allowed the Jewel to have that open heel and ball of the foot with the same arch and ankle support. What you're gonna love is it doesn't feel like a brace that is restrictive. It's targeted compression, and it allows for you to also wear them in any dance shoe. If you are absolutely hard set on a dance shoe, then you put them on with the Jewel. Also, the Jewel, we created it on purpose with that ballet pink so it can be worn in your ballet shoes and with point shoes. And we even made sure the profile hides perfectly, seamlessly behind your point shoe ribbons. And then our K-Warmer, this is the absolute favorite. If you're somebody that likes to wear compression leggings, you're gonna fall in love with the K-Warmer. It provides that knee support that so many people really need. Aches, it just changes your entire day when you wear them all day. And something that just happened right before COVID hit that we were really proud of, we got the APMA's seal of acceptance. So that is the American Podiatric Medical Association gave all 6 of our styles their seal of acceptance, noting that they are good for your feet. And we're the only footwear that has that. Dancer footwear. Now, rest and recovery is another aspect that's important for dancers. Of course, we know the RICE, acronym. Rest, allow your body to rest. Ha, right, dancers. Ice is wonderful to reduce inflammation, yes, but who likes to sit there with ice on them after every single class? And then elevation, again, how many people get to just sit there and lay there and allowing elevated legs? Doesn't happen. It's great, all of them are important. I'm not saying to not do any of them, especially if you have an injury, but what's wonderful is that you can wear Apolla Shocks and slip on your non-traction pairs after you're done dancing. So then you're continuing that recovery. So you have fresh feet every day you come back to the studio or back to dance class. So honestly, there is always a reason to have a pair of Apolla Shocks in your bag. From warm up, class, rehearsal, performance, they are gorgeous on stage and in performance. What we worked hard to make sure is that we had skin tone, we have colors that are complementary to skin tones. We, as a startup, did not feel we were going to be able to match every skin tone there is. We focused on, from the beginning, having a wide range of skin tones that could be complemented, and they really do. When you put them on, you're gonna see a gorgeous range. We have a nude 1, nude 2, and a nude 3, and we are working on a nude 4, which is actually in between our current nude 2 and nude 3. So we're adding an in-between shade to our darkest mocha. And we have performers from Boston Ballet wore these in their Ella Blue Rhapsody Paolo choreograph last year. They wore them on stage. We were the preferred footwear for Shaping Sound. Sonia Tayez, You'll Still Call Me by Name, Ballet Jazz Montreal. Like, we are all over the place on professional stages and competitions, and you may not even realize it, but it is okay to wear these on performance, and they look gorgeous, and they're protecting your dancers. Recovery, as I said, and then travel, cross-training, conventions. If you take your dancers to conventions, they are dancing on carpeted concrete. Our non-traction are incredible on those floors. And then just everyday wear. Now, we know that traditions are hard to break, and it's important that we are constantly being critical if they are necessary to creating the artistic athletes that we train. We know that it's easier to hear it from a peer and not a company that creates the product. So we partnered with someone we think you may respect their wisdom more than ours, and that is the legendary Mia Michaels. So I'm going to present to you, we did a series with her. It was actually a 4-episode series focused on mind, body, and soul. But this particular episode is focused on barefoot and dancer footwear from a very unique perspective from the woman who really created the trend of dancing barefoot in the commercial dance world.
Many of you who know me as a barefoot dancer and choreographer, why am I partnering with Apolla Performance? Because I can't walk. Today's dancer is saddled with a culture that has ingrained several risk factors for overuse injury. Throughout the series, we will discuss all of these, but today's episode, we will focus on flooring and the footwear. There are 2 types of injury mechanisms, overuse and traumatic. Dance injuries typically fall into the overuse category. Given the numerous repetitive movements in dance, there is a higher incidence of overuse injuries, which usually occur during class or rehearsals as opposed to happening during performance. 65% of injuries are from overuse, repetitive strain, and inflammation. What happens with overuse injuries is inflammation occurs in the tendons, ligaments, muscles, and joints. And when inflammation is not tended to properly, it will only build up into more painful and even chronic injuries. Regardless of technique, that inflammation, if not properly taken care of and not given enough rest and recovery, can and will lead to chronic injuries, pain, and possibly even career-ending injuries. Teachers should consider flooring in their studios as an investment for their students' health and well-being. I've literally gone into studios that have linoleum floors. I've gone into studios that are literally just thin rubber, not even marley, on top of cement. And I can't walk probably for days after that. However, even a proper sprung floor can't stop all of the inflammation that is caused by the repetitive movement in dance. What you wear on your feet should be just as important. I believe that we have been told what we have to wear on our feet from early on, and we just kind of adopted it and we made it work. But I really believe it's time to update our software and our footwear. We have had too many injuries and dancers that have had shortened careers. The history of barefoot dancing in the US begins with Isadora Duncan, who shocked early 20th century audiences by refusing to wear shoes when she performed. I love her. Duncan's bare feet were a rebellious act. I love her even more, representing her desire to push dance beyond the rigid confines of classical ballet. But there's another side to this story too. Some modern dance innovators, including Martha Graham, actually adopted the practice of dancing barefoot for practical reasons. Without shoes, Graham's dancers could maintain better balance and stability. Dancers love the ability of full contact of the floor to feel grounded, which can also improve balance. However, due to the nature of dance and the repetitive movement and the heavy impact of several styles of dance, inflammation occurs in the feet, which does not go away on its own. I was kind of the trailblazer in the commercial dance world that just basically rebelled against shoes. Modern dancers and in college dance, they were mostly barefoot, but when it came to the commercial dance world is when it started taking root about being barefoot. And we were doing the shows and doing So You Think You Can Dance and doing all these, teaching all over the world, and everyone was barefoot. And I think after a long time of being barefoot, my feet really, really gave out. My feet were always sore, and I literally felt like the Tin Man when I was trying to walk in the morning. I think dancing barefoot, of course, you are much more grounded, you feel the floor, there's a lot of pros to it. But then comes the calluses, and that's the negative part about dancing barefoot. I think that with calluses, it's a blessing and a curse. And I think for point dancers, I think it's important because it softens the pain inside of the box of the toe shoe. But when it comes to contemporary dancers, calluses are not good, because what happens, and I've witnessed it with assistants and dancers, is that when they have a thick callus, it rips. And depending on how thick the callus is, the deeper the rip is, which takes months to heal. Sometimes it doesn't, and there's an issue, and then they have this big gash in their skin that just heals that way. I would highly recommend rethinking what calluses do for your feet as a dancer. I remember being in rehearsals and studios, and because it was all over the place, people were getting planters warts, all kinds of skin diseases and things that were affecting deep layers of the skin. How ironic is it that I was making everyone take their shoes off, no shoes, and full circle. And now I'm here talking about how important it is to support and love your feet. Partnering with Apolla Performance is a lifesaver for me. It's given me my feet back. I'm able to walk, I'm able to move, I'm able to just feel like that dancer, that 20-year-old dancer inside of me. That's why I'm here with Apolla, because I believe in it so much. It's just saving me not only as an artist, choreographer, but it's helping me to reconnect with dance again. I thought once I had to put my sneakers on and be that teacher that just kind of walks around in these big chunky sneakers because I can't dance anymore. Apolla gave me my relationship and my love back to dance again. Apolla has so many different varieties of shocks because everyone's feet are different, and the skin is different, and where it hits you and how the floor feels on your feet. Everybody is different. Everyone has a different journey, and that is the beauty of Apolla, is that they have a shock for everyone. Why are we so adamant on what is defined as a dance shoe? I feel like everything is more about the aesthetic and not about the health of the foot, and that's why Apollas were born. That's why they were created, because it's not only for the health of the foot, but it's also aesthetically a new way of looking at footwear for the dancer. I personally love the look of the Apollas. I personally love the way not only do they feel, but how they look for the foot, for a performance, not only for studios and rehearsals, but for the stage. Many teachers and choreographers don't want their students or dancers wearing socks. And I understand why you would not want to wear a regular sock. They can be dangerous for some dancers, but these are shocks. They're so much more than that. They are footwear that is the perfect hybrid of shoe and sock. It's giving you the freedom of movement, feeling grounded, and allows your muscles to be activated. It doesn't provide a crutch like a cast or a shoe does, so it doesn't prevent building strength. And it helps to reduce and prevent inflammation during rehearsal and performance hours. So it is very unique. It's a very unique dance footwear that really gives you everything you need in footwear as a dancer. When people create newness and break new ground, it's always a little uncomfortable because it's new. And it's so important that if we don't have those kind of people that are breaking new grounds, we would never evolve. I think it's so important that teachers and choreographers don't repeat this problem in the next generation of dancers. I think it's time to stop, and I think it's time to rethink what a dancer needs. We have pushed boundaries farther than ever. We are stronger, and we are not doing a double pirouette anymore. We're doing so much more. It's almost non-human what the dancer is doing these days. With that said, that is physical abuse on your body and your feet. And you have to change with the times. You have to evolve with the times. We can't keep staying in what we wore on our feet 20, 30 years ago. It doesn't work. There's so much knowledge and information and the evolution of technology and science, and all of the information we need is right here to save our feet and to save the dancers' bodies for longevity in their careers. Dancers are artists and athletes and need to treat their bodies as such. Artists challenge convention, as Isadora did. Athletes challenge their bodies physically and mentally. We do both. Our dancing has evolved. Our artistry has evolved. Not all traditions are good for you. Throughout history, many traditions were rebuked for the better. Let's create new traditions that enhance dance, because at the end of the day, that is what it is all about, that we just dance. Longer and stronger.
That was, like I said, our second episode.
Many of you who know me.
In a 4-episode series. So we hope that you'll go on our website under About Apolla section is our Apolla videos, and there you'll find all of our episodes with her. We focused on the other episodes from body image and overtraining, the mentality, the mind, body, spirit of a dancer. So a lot of important topics and perspective that we give in that series. And everything we do is all backed with science and research. So as we wrap this up, I just want to leave you with this. We know that that change can take time, but it starts with us. And it needs to start now. The dance culture has created traditions that are not for the betterment or health of a dancer. We have the education now. We have the knowledge, the science, the studies. We know more and we know better. So let's do better for the next generation of dancers. Just a side note, Apolla has also curated a free educational course that you can take to further your professional development. And this course, we focus on giving actionable items to dance educators on racism and gender inequities in dance, preventing sexual predators in dance, as well as an entire chapter from dance scientists on bringing dance science to dance studios and dance educators, and dance integration. So you'll find that on our website. It's called the STEPS 2020 Initiative, and that stands for Studios for Equity, Prevention, and Science. And you can also find it in the link in our bio in our Instagram page at Apolla Performance. And so just remember that this change, it all starts at home. It starts in the studio or with the coach. It starts with educating your dancers to do more for their health at a young age. So when they become adults, they're prepared and hopefully not plagued with the injuries and pain. And this is what really truly gives them the gift of dance. And if they choose, they can have a long and healthy career, but most importantly, what we care about is that they have a long and healthy body and life. So please let me know if you have any further questions. There's a lot of other resources that we also like to point you to, from iAdams, For Dancers, the Dance USA Task Force, they're who put out an incredible informational paper on returning to dance safely with dancing masks. I'm a part of the Bridge Dance Project, which is a group of dance scientists and competitive commercial dancers and PTs. We're working on bringing dance science to the dance studios. YPAD, every dance educator should be involved with this if you are working with children. It is so important nowadays with what we are dealing with in the dance community with sexual predators and being aware, and that training is also, they dedicated the prevention of sexual predators chapter in our STEPS initiative course. So a lot of resources, please. Our thing, yes, we are an effective tool. We are an important tool, but there is so much more that we believe in. We hope you join our community as more than just wearing our shocks, but joining in on the movement of creating longer and stronger dancers. So go to our website, email us. All of our information is right here, www.apollaperformance.com. You can email us at info@apollaperformance.com with any questions. If you have, if you'd like all the references that were just shown throughout our entire presentation, you can email me and I'm happy to send them to you. We really appreciate everybody joining us. We know that, you know, it's back to school and dance time and you're very busy, but please know we work really hard to have high quality products and equally as excellent customer service. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Ask us any questions. We want to get your dancers protected. We want to get you protected. And we are here to help. So everybody have a wonderful, happy Monday, rest of your week. Thank you.